the Dambuilders, and we've got Dave Derby here with us via Microsoft Teams. Hello, Dave.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, very good, wonderful. It's great to speak with you. I'm very excited about today. When I have to tell you this, I'm going to geek out a little bit live on the air. When I first, when it came to my attention that you were going to be coming on the show today, the first thing I thought of was the original video for Shine. And the whole alien vibe and everything with those white outfits. That was the first thing that came into my head. So I had a very vivid visual image of the band in my mind. And then, of course, I went back and watched the video. And then I watched the new video, which has footage from the old video in it. And very, very cool. So I'm extremely curious. Why now? Obviously, the Dambuilders has been away for a bit, right? I mean, it was, what was it, 1989 when the band started? Is that right?
Yeah. 1989, started in Honolulu, Hawaii. And then, we called it quits, I think, in 97.
Okay.
So almost 30 years. We had been playing kind of reunion shows. Well, actually, so we hadn't played them as the Dambuilders. We kind of had a funny thing where we wanted to try out this sort of new lineup of the band, and we played under a kind of like a pseudonym as a Dambuilders tribute band featuring members of Luna, Guided by Voices, and the Dambuilders.
Interesting.
We played a couple of times. Just to try it out. And then, it took a while for schedules to align. It's kind of crazy how so much time can fly by, but this has been something that, we've been thinking about for, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years, and finally pulled it off.
Okay.
And we did, we did these new releases, a couple of new shows, and intending to do more. Kind of in the future.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. You mentioned the band starting out in Honolulu, but then you really became a fixture, on your way up, and obviously, national act. I remember seeing the video for Shine on MTV. Really in the college, in the Boston college rock scene, right, was where you sort of started to really come up.
Yeah. We moved to Boston in 1990. We had kind of dates ourselves, but we had a record on an independent label in Berlin, which was at the time West Germany. And we, we're living in Honolulu, and we're like, okay, we can't do this. Let's go somewhere. We wanted to be on the East Coast because we figured at that point we would be doing more stuff in Europe.
Okay.
And we had all gone to college on the East Coast anyway. And so Boston just seemed like a natural place. It had, there were bands that we loved from that scene, and it has had a vibrant scene for many, many years, and it was just a great place to go. So in many ways, that is kind of our home.
How did you adjust to the weather?
It took a little while. It was different.
I was going to say that would be the one disadvantage, right?
Yeah. I think it's funny. The thing I think that we sort of collectively weren't so great at was the idea of having really good winter coats. I think among us, we probably had one. Yeah.
Now, I'm curious to know more about, I'm sorry. I keep saying the title wrong. Shrine. I keep saying Shine. I don't know why.
Okay.
But I don't know why I do that. But I'm curious to know more, like, why did you choose that song, in terms of transitioning it into Shrine 2026 and making, again, the video is great. I love the way, it combines obviously you today with some footage from the original video. But why that? Why the focus on that song specifically?
It was just something that when this version of the band reformed, we just thought that there was a kind of slightly different energy to it. It does sound pretty similar to the original.
Yeah.
But there's just a kind of, I think there's a little bit of a spirit that's a little different. And it was just something, to be honest, we just kind of like Kevin and I were in the studio and we were working on some other stuff, and we just started playing it, and then kind of thought like, wow, we should re-record this.
Yeah.
And it turned out really well. It was just, and I think, lyrically, kind of what the song is about and sort of what it has kind of meant to our history. It feels like a really good song to kind of restart things with. The video, actually working on a documentary of, it's not only about the Dambuilders, but kind of like about the sort of things that happened kind of adjacent to us being a band in Honolulu when there was kind of a rich scene in the 80s, and then going to Boston and being part of that scene, and then being part of a group of bands that were playing in Europe at that time, kind of pre-Nirvana and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so the video director is an old friend. It's actually like the first friend that I made when I moved to Boston. And he has, I've been friends with him for years, and he's known the band really well. And he had a lot of really great ideas about how to kind of reuse some of the older footage and kind of to weave in this whole backstory and kind of bring in other people in the band, including, Joan Wasser, who is, she's not in the current lineup, though we hope we can convince her to join us on stage one of these days.
Sure.
But she and Eric, has played with the Dambuilders in the new lineup and will probably be doing so. But we also wanted a way to kind of like bring the past members into it. And there's another person who's in the video is actually the original Dambuilders drummer on the very first record that we made, a guy named Daniel Glass, who I went to preschool with, who's actually a really famous kind of drummer's drummer. He has a column in Modern Drummer magazine. He's he played in the Royal Crown Review, and he's an amazing player, and kind of started playing with him again. And a long way of saying, like, we felt like the video is a great way to kind of bring the past and present together and kind of celebrate what the band is. And
right.
I think that reflects the spirit of doing that song.
Now, the friend you were talking about, is that Bruno Corbo?
Bruno Corbo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he did the video. The original video for Shrine. What was did he come up with the whole concept? It's sort of like this alien rockers living underground kind of thing. What was that him that came up with that, or maybe you collaborated?
So the original video, the 1994 video, was created by Tryon George, who actually was also an original member of the Dambuilders as well. He kind of went in a different direction after we did some tours in Europe and became kind of a very successful director, and still really, really good friends with him. And so we wanted to take a lot of the really magical stuff that Tryon created in that video and bring this whole backstory that Bruno had kind of created, mostly on his own, but also, we kind of collaborated on some of these ideas of just how we could kind of pay homage to the original video and bring in something new. And I think, we first made the making of that first video in 1994 is kind of a funny thing, where there was a different song that was supposed to be the single, and then we kind of had to pivot to making a video for Shrine. And our approach to it, I know this kind of sounds pretentious, but a sort of French wave film, it was sort of like that idea of just like, the way that, the original Breathless was made, where, the people in the film just kind of improvised and came up, they had a basic storyline.
Sure. And
kind of improvised and used things in the set. And so that video was very kind of random. We even though we had a really solid backstory, we kind of tried to bring that same sort of collaborative kind of French New Wave element to it. Because that kind of thing, like experimentation and collaboration is a really important part of, I think, like, I'm sounding really pretentious today, but the ethos of the Dambuilders,
right?
It's like, we're kind of all about that. And so it just felt like it all came together through collaboration and, different people coming up with different ideas. And I just think it's a celebration of who we are and where we're going and getting back together again and all those wonderful things.
Absolutely. And I'm curious too, to know more. The documentary you referred to, is that I Used to Be Different? Is that the one that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Work in progress. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because that's particularly interesting to me too.
Yeah. So, it is, we're in the middle of it. It's kind of, we're trying to figure out, like, Bruno and I have been friends for so long, and we just kind of have this habit of, like, just, coming up with really probably too elaborate plans. But the idea is we've shot a lot of stuff in Hawaii, kind of going back to sort of the roots of the band, the original members. The one thing I'd like to plug that is very relevant to this was a great book that just came out that's about the Honolulu music scene. That's called Local Unrest by a guy named Sean Lopez.
Okay.
It's a fantastic book if you just like reading about, it's kind of similar to something like, Please Kill Me, but it's set in Honolulu, as crazy as that sounds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so we wanted to capture some of that stuff, like just kind of inspired by Sean. And we did kind of like, driving around and finding, old clubs and, or the, the sites of old venues and stuff like that. We're going to do a similar type of thing about, shooting and interviewing folks that were in bands we were coming up with in Boston, as well as talking to the original members, and then hopefully going to Berlin and Germany and revisiting some of the places where we did shows there and kind of, interviewing our really very colorful, interesting record label guys. Like one of the strangest, most awesome people I've ever met in this life. And just having him on camera will be great. But it's kind of supposed to be about everything in between. And, we're just having fun doing it. And, our goal is to get this done by the, end of summer.
Okay.
And we'll have what we have, and we'll be sharing, kind of teasers of it, and going into editing hopefully in the fall. We're hoping that corresponds to, we're doing a Boston show, which this will be the first time I actually announce it. God, I better get the date right.
Oh.
But it's 20th and 21st. Let me just confirm.
Okay.
At the Burren in November, like that far away.
Okay.
Because apparently Boston has become, you have to book it that far in advance these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. So I think it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. So
Okay.
I think it's the 20th and 21st. We'll be doing a little residency there, and hopefully before that, hoping to do a few shows in New England. Hopefully in New Hampshire, actually. That's one place we're hoping to play in Portsmouth.
Well, that would be excellent.
Yeah. And then we'll be doing our plans, like, and the current Dambuilders band is so busy. It's hard to kind of keep everyone's schedule. Sean plays in Luna. Claudia Chopek, who plays violin, is she is in a million Broadway plays.
Oh, wow.
And so her schedule gets really busy. But we will be doing, or we're looking to be doing some touring in February and March. Hopefully, we're not exactly sure where. East Coast. Some of the Midwest. Hopefully, West Coast as well. Kind of TBD, but that's kind of the more ambitious plans for the future.
Okay, yeah. So you've got some things coming up. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Something specific I really want to ask you about too is something that I am very passionate about is college radio. And I feel like I'm curious to get your thoughts on the role that college radio, especially in a place like Boston, which has, just a lot of, obviously an incredible music scene. And a big part of that is college radio in Boston. But I'm curious about the role of college radio in helping the Dambuilders in the beginning. Obviously, you were getting exposure, on MTV. Like I said, I remember seeing the video for Shrine. But also at college radio, I feel like that's a big part, right, of the Dambuilders ascension.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I'm super passionate about college radio myself. Boston, being in Boston in the 90s, especially like, pre-internet era, like college radio was just a thing where, it's like, I just remember like planning my days around shows that were on different stations and just, switching from station to station, like MBR and ERS and HRB and, all the stations there, ZBC. So that was a huge thing. Another thing, and also, MBR, like we, One thing that will be kind of TBD in terms of how we release it, but we're definitely gonna. There's some rarities that we have, like live radio performances, where we the band used to we used to write songs sometimes like right before the show or even on the moment. And there's some really cool 90s Dambuilders performances that we're planning to release in some form. And so those are all about college radio. College radio for us was like, it was, and I think this is very true. Like back in the 90s, it was like, it was like going into the studio. It was like prepping something for the studio. It was like the chance to be live on the radio was just such an important thing. And in Boston, people, even before, bands would release like vinyl or CDs, they just do, radio tapes, and you kind of take them around and I just remember loving radio tapes that I don't know if they were ever even actually released by some local bands in Boston. And then just a whole other thing about college radio, just since you mentioned it, I mean, this is just like, so just for fun. One other thing that I'm doing with some old friends is starting a band that is actually a cover band that is totally devoted to really like mid to late 80s college radio in America before it was called indie. Yeah, so it's just like kind of trying to capture, and that's when I went to college, and that's, I still have this like memory of hearing like Husker Du for the first time and stuff like that. Like, so we're only playing songs from that era, and it's just so fun. Yeah, it's like a time capsule.
Oh, that's wild. Wow, that's so cool.
But, yeah, I see that as a real celebration to college radio. But yeah, I mean, college radio was just such a huge thing to us, and it still is. It
still is.
Yeah. It's still so vibrant. I mean, yeah, in New York, the New York area, the FUV thing is just really fun, and FMU, like people are super into those stations, and just kind of still really important. And the folks who are DJs are really kind of super important to, I think, sustaining any scene. That's definitely true in the New York scene as well.
Oh, no doubt. Well, then, so, if we fast forward to today, obviously, now we have streaming and the social media landscape and everything.
Right.
I mean, how do you and how does the band, the Dambuilders, sort of adapt to all of that? I mean, has that been easy? Has that been a challenge? I mean,
yeah, I guess, I mean, it's not a challenge, and we're still kind of, I think in terms of the Dambuilders, we're still going to kind of see how that goes. But I would say, I've been putting out records for a long time in different bands, post Dambuilders, and just to kind of wax a little bit philosophical about streaming, I think there is one of the issues with streaming, and this is, I think, college radio is very different in this sense, but streaming is, it is this kind of crazy candy store we can go to 24/7 and stream anything and everything we want. And it does, I think it's hard to get past the reality that it kind of, on some level, devalues music. I mean, I love the fact that I can go and listen to lots of old things and discover so many new things. Like every day, I feel like I'm just learning something new. So on one level, it's just this constantly abundant, wonderful thing. But on another level, it's like, it kind of takes away the sort of preciousness of, like, there's something special to me about, I still remember hearing things on college radio. Like I remember just kind of, being in LA and hearing things on KCRW, Morning Becomes Eclectic, in real time. And just like, I still remember those kind of moments of hearing something. And I think I think there's gotta, I hope there's a way to get back to that. And I kind of think that a lot of it has to do with, or maybe part of the solution is partially, like I love the fact that people are getting back into physical things like, vinyl and CDs. I have a 20-year-old daughter who like is just in love with music and is all about, going out and finding actual physical versions of music. Like, I think that there still needs to be that element of that, making it precious.
Right.
And yeah, so I don't know, like it is a mixed bag. And I also think too, like there's it's sort of adjacent thing, I think in the world right now is like, with things like AI, where more than ever, I think, being human and being real and something doing like bands playing in real time is such an important kind of thing. And it's kind of made me think that, one thing that I really am excited about with the Dambuilders is it's such a joy to play with these people. And I want to just capture that live, raw sound,
right.
As well. That's a really long response to your simple question.
No, that's okay. I mean, we are very fortunate. I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm not sure how old you are, but Gen X, of course, the last generation to really grow up without the internet. Yeah. And I do agree. I do agree with. Obviously, it has devalued music in a way. Although I do love. As you mentioned, we live in a time where you can hear anything you want to at any time. And that's pretty amazing.
It is. It really, really is. It's just, I mean, cause on the other hand, I guess it's sort of like a lot of things, like just a dumb example, like I just kind of comes to mind sort of immediately, but like a band that like, that I never, really listened to ever. And it's kind of funny, like my sort of boomer uncle who kind of gave me all of his like classic rock records, same thing where neither one of us really ever listened to the band Little Feat. Mm-hmm. And like, Little Feat, something like now I can stream it and I listen to it and go, God, man, I wish I had heard this stuff a long time ago. But the reality was, back then when you would buy the records that you bought, and, there's also that thing of like, there are definitely records that I owned that are probably not really great records, but just because I own them, I kind of made myself. It's like a Stockholm syndrome thing where I made myself like them, but I still like remember them super fondly. And that's kind of that's sort of like the weird thing about I don't know, just having access to things versus the thing that you own, the thing that you went out and bought.
Right.
Yeah. And it's hard not to, it is like, this is, okay, here's a sort of sidebar thing just that I find really fascinating. There's a new recording software thing that's kind of like, from what I can tell, there've been all these like, social media, posts about it, and there's a lot of excitement around it, but it's a technology that basically emulates the old school 16-track, or 24-track recorders.
Okay.
And unlike typical digital audio workstation types of things where you can see waveforms and go in and edit them, you can't do any of that. You just have to record it, and there's nothing to look at. Huh. You have to, if it's not good, you can punch. If your performance wasn't perfect, you can punch in or punch out or just re-record it. And it's really interesting to see all these kind of Gen Z kids getting super excited about those imposed limitations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's I think it's sort of adjacent to the idea of like, the physical product is sort of like, there was even a different way of making music back in those days.
Right.
Something to do with it.
Absolutely. It's interesting how vinyl is, and a lot of young people will buy vinyl now too. Although I think that when they're buying new vinyl, they never actually open it. They're just, if it's cool if you're really a fan of somebody, it's nice to have the vinyl, and maybe just mount the cover on your wall or something almost like that. But nothing sounds better than vinyl. We actually have a vinyl record player here in the, I think there's only one show that actually uses it, but we have a record player here in the studio.
Oh, cool.
That one of the guys uses. Yeah, DJ Steve. I think he uses it. But yeah, nothing sounds better than vinyl, and it's it's never gone away completely, and it's definitely had a resurgence over the last few years, which is nice. And even CDs.
Yeah.
A lot of artists are releasing CDs who had kind of given up on them at one point.
Oh yeah, when I was putting out records with my band Gramercy Arms, like the last record I released, all these people wrote to me. They're like, "Well, are there CDs?" And I was like, "CDs? You want CDs?" And I get it actually. Like I kind of just going around to like local kind of like used record and CD stores. Like it's kind of fun. It's fun playing old CDs as well. Like they sound really good. They're they are what they are. It is kind of funny. I agree. It's like sort of like, to me, it's like, why wouldn't you just get the vinyl?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm also curious to ask you too about your other work, because you've after the Dambuilders. Tell me if I've got the timeline right, but I assume it was after the Dambuilders initial run. You worked in TV and film music, and you worked with another New Hampshire person, Sarah Silverman.
Silverman.
She's from here. Yeah.
I love Sarah Silverman. She's the thing that is so true is like, what's so funny is she always plays this like sort of, kind of mean girl. And she's like one of the sweetest, nicest people you will ever meet.
I've heard that
in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So down to earth and cool. And, it was really wonderful collaborating with her. And she's she's a real sweetheart. Like I wish I saw her more often. But yeah, and it's funny. I did like a bunch of stuff for probably about like 8 or 9 years. And a lot of like writing and production and, just kind of, just got to work on shows and advertising and, kind of everything in between. Even did some like, it was very strange, kind of LA pop songwriting stuff. I actually wrote a song I actually co-wrote a song for Hannah Montana, as well as Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez back in the day with my business partners who were kind of more sort of plugged into that world.
Okay.
And that was freaky and weird. It was like an interesting moment.
Sounds fun though.
Total fun. Yeah.
So during all that time when you're doing all this, I mean, I'm curious, was it always kind of in the back of your mind that eventually you would get back to the Dambuilders, or was there a point where that was just totally in your rearview mirror, or what was kind of your mindset over those years?
That's a great question. I think so. I think on some level, I mean, it's kind of, I have to say, it's kind of funny that, and I think, maybe this is kind of the way these things go, but to be honest, like when the Dambuilders were kind of breaking up, like I think I was probably like leading the charge to break up the band. I was like so over it,
really,
for reasons that are not even worth going into. But now I've become like the most, I'm like the evangelist of the Dambuilders. Like I have been for like, for a while. And I kind of, I think, and I also, I've just, in a way, there was so much. It was my life for a long, period of time when I was younger. When when 8 years of your life is like a lot. Now it's like you get older and it's just like time just whizzes by. But there was a lot to it. There was a lot of emotional connection to it, and when I was finished with it, I really I kind of look back on it and I feel like I really tried to do something to really go in an opposite direction in a bunch of different ways. And now I'm just so proud of it and so grateful to have made music with, everyone who's in the band and just to have collaborated with them. And I love them so much as people. And I'm just very proud of what we did. I think, I really do think that the Dambuilders, like, for better or worse, is a band that just was unique. I don't think there really was any band that you could say like, oh, they sound exactly like that. I mean, there are elements that kind of sounded similar to other things, but it was a very original and vibrant thing. And I'm my goal with doing it now, and it's funny because I actually sat down the other day and I was like, what am I trying to accomplish with this? And it's really just to honor the legacy of it and actually hopefully introduce some new people to, who might have missed it the first time around. Like one thing is super cool, like just doing the 2 shows that we did, there are a few people that came up who were younger people who had just heard about us or read about us. It's sort of, I think, in this way that folks are kind of like discovering things from the 90s. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's just like, yeah. So more of that, please.
Absolutely. No, that's got to be very validating.
Yeah. And it is, it's just interesting to me too. Like, even music from that era. I mean, it's just been kind of interesting. Just my daughter's take on things that were from that era that, like, honestly, for whatever reason, I might have had some sort of predisposed notion to that, from my like 1996 mind or whatever. And I listen to it, she'll say, well, what about, listen to this? And it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I didn't realize how great this was. It's like another artist, like from that time. So it's really interesting to kind of go back and listen to those things and kind of remove that sort of those emotional connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, Dave, because and we're starting to run out of time, but I do want to because at the end of our conversation, we played Shrine earlier. I want to play the song "I Hope We're Not Too Late." And I'm curious about this. So does the title
me too.
have any relation to, is this kind of the mindset or a part of the mindset that you've had going into this?
Yeah. It's so Kevin March really came up with the main part of the song, and he has this incredible ability to, when he writes songs and then, he has this, like, he writes lyrics that are so simple and so like searingly evocative and personal and and deep, like in a way. And they're just like, his idea of it was like, originally he was, thinking about it as like, it's like, I hope we're not too late to like a party or something, but it's really like, I just hope we're not too late in this moment, like to be coming back, to be, it's like fear, it's a kind of FOMO, but it's like, I hope we're not too late and this is, I've heard him say this as well. It's like, he originally thought it was like, I hope we're not too late. It's just like people, or it's like a species like on this planet. And it just, he loves to write, and he's so good at writing things that you can interpret them in different ways.
Sure.
And so I kind of helped, and the rest of the band kind of helped to write the rest of the song. And it was a little bit more about like, kind of like, we kind of thinking that we've kind of been here before. And that's, I find something to me, that's something lyrically I've kind of been, it's coming out in things I've been writing of just, we're kind of a sort of connection to the past. The other thing about the song that I really love, that's really, to me is just, I think what's so great about it, sort of pairing it with Shrine, is that it really gets to the spirit of the Dambuilders that I think, Sean and Claudia really represent a very similar kind of mindset that Joan and Eric have had. That is that sort of embrace of improvisation and creativity and sort of collective creativity. And that spirit, it's like really that song came out of us kind of jamming together and finding something different. And that is really, that is such an important element of the Dambuilders. And I feel really glad that we were able to kind of combine, kind of bring that in, and also really kind of give Kevin more of a voice, because his writing is really he's just writing tons of stuff. And we're working on new songs, and it's just really amazing to kind of tap into his creativity. And I think in the Dambuilders, like the last record that we made together, Against the Stars, is really kind of Joan coming out and stepping into the front. And I feel like there's a lot of this with Kevin kind of in the future. I think like like his literal voice, but his songwriting voice is just getting stronger and stronger. And it just makes me really happy. Like, I'm very excited about it. It makes me look forward to the future.
Yeah. I really like this track a lot. And I do think too, some of the lyrical themes that you're talking about, I think they're relatable for people because, I think everyone has something, at least one thing in their life where they, something they want to do, something they want to accomplish, maybe something they used to do that they want to go back to. And that's kind of that thought. Yeah. And like, oh, I hope it's not too late,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think everyone can relate to that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 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 And I find myself thinking a lot too about things, just, I think it's just maybe a natural thing of just getting older where you start to think about like, what does my time on this earth really mean? Like, and what am I like connected to that's part of the past and maybe part of the future. And that to me that's kind of where I was trying to take the other part of the song, but sort of like, it's like, it's not really answering any questions. And the sort of, to me, the really provocative questions that Kevin is asking.
Right.
But yeah, so there's a brand new song that we're working on where Kevin just has another really simple lyric that's like, I hope you make it back home. And it's like, it's almost like the flip side of that. And it's really powerful. And I can't wait to, record it and all that good stuff.
Well, we look forward to hearing it. Dave Derby, this has been wonderful. We'll definitely have to do this again in the future. We'll let you go in a moment and we'll hit that track. I hope we're not too late. But before we do that, where's the best place for people to go online to keep up with everything that the Dambuilders is doing?
Okay. Probably best places are like, Instagram, the Dambuilders, also Facebook, the Dambuilders.
Yeah.
Those are the two main places. And more to come. I mean, there's definitely, like I said, there's some rarity stuff we'll be sharing. Not sure about that release. There'll be new recordings. So just look to that. And then also the documentary, we'll share it there. There's also, similar, it's called, it's called the Dambuilders Film.
Okay.
So like Instagram, the Dambuilders Film, Facebook, the Dambuilders Film. But that's early days. We're still in production, I guess you could say.
Okay. Oh, you got a lot of good stuff coming up. That's wonderful. All right, Dave, very good. Again, Dave Derby, thank you so much. We'll let you go and we will hit that track, but thank you so much. And we will do it again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Dave, take care. Bye-bye. All right, that is Dave Derby from the Dambuilders. And I really like this song a lot. Let's give this a spin. This is called I Hope We're Not Too Late, brand new from the Dambuilders.